Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Hello and welcome. This is Kardec Radio's 6 p.m. daily prayer program. Today is Sunday and I am the host. My name's Teresa Castro. So glad to be here and welcome to everyone who is joining us. And we send a big hello and welcome to those who may be listening to this later on demand. Welcome. So before we have our prayer, our message today is about charity. I think it's a message we can't hear too often. And we will remind ourselves that charity is goodwill towards everyone, indulgence towards the imperfections of others, and forgiveness for offenses. And we find this definition in the Spirit's book, question number 886. We are told what charity is. The Spirits give us a clear definition. Hello, John DeRosa, welcome. And what we should remember that this charity that they describe to us, this goodwill towards everyone, indulgence of others' imperfection, and forgiveness of offenses, this definition of charity and what charity is for everyone. Hi, Slavic, thank you for signing in. So we don't pick and choose who we do charity to, or it doesn't limit us to the people we know, our blood ties, the people at work, our neighbors. No, it's for everybody. Okay, so in chapter 15 of the Gospel, which is entitled, Without Charity There Is No Salvation, both Kardec and Apostle Paul say that charity sums up the duties for humankind. So they say that charity is the sum of all the duties of both men and women, okay? So then we need to understand, well, what is duty? So of course, we're gonna know, right? In the Gospel, on chapter 17, in the Spirit teachings, so those are always toward the end of each chapter, where they Kardec printed or included in the book the Spirit's teachings, the messages he received from the Spirits. And this was Lazare, the Spirit of Lazare. And he said that duty is our moral obligation, first to ourselves and then immediately to others. So what we think about is the thing we all know when we're in the airplane, right? You put your oxygen on first and then you help your child or somebody else. But the key word here is immediately, right? So it doesn't take 2 hours to put your oxygen mask on, or 5 years where we're still, helping ourselves. That they say immediately, okay? And he also says, the Spirit Lazare, that duty is a law of life. And we know this, right? The Spirits also tell us this in the Spirit's book in chapter 3, part 3, chapter 11, that love, that charity is a law, right? It is a moral law. And then in Thought and Life, Emmanuel, the chapter 21, it's entitled Duty. He tells us that duty is any activities in the arena of goodness that is our responsibility to execute, that God gives us to execute. So, and he says that this charity is done not first, but one of the reasons is to uphold order, to advance God's divine work, and then for our own self-improvement. So I kind of wondered, what does this mean to uphold order? Why is charity needed? And how does charity uphold order? So we look in the book of Action and Reaction, and this is by Andre Louise, psychographed by Chico. And in chapter 1, and we'll remember that this is a story about Andre in the spiritual realm, and he's learning, and his instructor in this particular scenario is instructor Druso. And he tells Andre that charity, order is the basis for charity. And because Andre and his, another student who was learning with Andre, Hilario, they said, here we are in this Mansao Paz, right there in the lower zones. And the name of this institution was Mansao Paz, where they were helping spirits that were ready to begin their regeneration process. And he said, this is a charitable place. Why don't you open the doors and let all the spirits in? And Druso explains to him, it's like letting a bunch of tigers in a temple where people are praying. There would be chaos and there would be no good to anybody. So this idea that order is necessary, and in order, to do good, because not all those spirits were ready to regenerate themselves nor wanting to. So they would have just caused havoc. And it would not have been charitable to the spirits that were ready to begin the regeneration process. So that's how we can understand this need for order, and how charity supports order, and how order is necessary to provide charity. So then when we go back to the gospel, and Paul, the Apostle Paul, he says that among the virtues of faith, hope, and charity, charity is the most excellent. And we might be saying, why? Why is charity the most excellent, even before faith and hope? And Kardec explains to us that this is because charity is within everyone's reach. You don't have to, you can be ignorant or learned or educated, and you can still do charity. You can be rich or poor, and you can still do charity. You can be someone with a title or just someone, common folk, and you can still do charity. And Kardec also says, because charity is independent of any particular belief. So you don't have to be, belong to a denomination. You don't need to belong to a certain church. You don't need to belong to a certain center. You don't need to be a certain race, a certain ethnicity, a certain skin color. That charity can be done by all of us. So how do we do it? How do we do charity? Well, we're given the golden rule, and that's a measure we can measure against. And we know the golden rule is doing unto others as we would want others to do to us. So we can always use this as our barometer to measure against. Am I doing charity? Am I doing to others what I would want them to do to me? Am I forgiving offenses, or am I holding grudges? Am I slandering people when I see their imperfections and gossiping? And am I holding ill feelings toward somebody who's offended me? Because we know Jesus told us we need to love our enemies, but we understand what love means, that this is that we don't hold vengeance, and we also return love for non-love. So, we can't be expected to have these warm, strong, passionate feelings for, when we've been harmed. But we can be respectful, and we can return love for non-love. So then, in chapter 15 of the gospel, and it's entitled, Without Charity, There Is No Salvation. So what we can understand in simple words is, if we want to get free, because this is what salvation basically is the freedom to be liberated. And charity, we need to help each other. Basically, in a nutshell, that's what it's telling us. And why? Why is this? Because we know In the Spirits book, they tell us 4 different places everything in nature is connected. So the idea that I'm not going to help my brother and sister, or I'm not going to help that one, or I'm only going to help this one, won't work. We will not be liberated in this way. That we need to help everyone because we are all interconnected. Everything in nature is linked together. So, so I thought for our closing prayer, we could actually use the prayer that it's a prayer. It's in the it was by Paul. It's in the New Testament, and it's from his first letter to the Corinthians. It's very well known prayer. Many people use it for their wedding vows. It's the first letter to the Corinthians. It's chapter 13, 1 through 7. Now, I just want to note here that when you look this up in the New Testament, they use the word love. And Kardec here is using the word charity. And he explains to us in a footnote that charity comes from the Latin word that is equal to the Greek word agape, which means love. And so you see love used in many of the New Testaments. However, there are older versions that use charity, and this is what Kardec has used in the Gospel, including this as part of chapter 15. So it's a very beautiful prayer. Now, it's not rote. I'm going to read it, but I'm going to ask people to, if they can, they're in a safe place, to close their eyes and try to connect with the words of the prayer, because this is what's most important, that we connect with the prayer and try to resonate with the words and what's being said. So if you can, I invite you to do that. I am going to turn on some music. This music is not very loud, so if let me know if you can't hear it. John, can you give me some feedback? Okay. I'm going to take it as no word is a good word. So let us begin. So this is according to Paul, the need for charity. So Mother, Father, God, we offer this prayer in your name and for each other, that we may hear the words of our brother Paul and helping us to understand what charity is and why it is so necessary. Even if I were to speak all the languages of men and the language of the angels themselves, if I did not have charity, I would be only like a sounding gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I were to have the gift of prophecy and grasp all mysteries, and if I had a perfect knowledge of all things, and if I had all the faith possible to the point of moving mountains, if I did not have charity, I would be nothing. And if I were to distribute my belongings to feed the poor and delivered my body to be burned, if I did not have charity, nothing of this would be any use to me. Charity is patient, it is kind and benevolent. Charity is not envious. It is not rash or hurried. It is not full of pride. It is not scornful. It does not look after its own interests. It does not take offense or become upset by anything. It does not suspect evil. It does not rejoice in injustice, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes for all things, endures all things. And we thank you, Mother, Father, God, Apostle Paul, and all the spirits who have gathered with us to help support, guide, protect, and inspire this prayer session. And we humbly ask your permission to close this session, going forward and remembering that charity is the law of life and our moral duty to help one another, just as we would like to be helped. And so be it. And so it is, my friends. Charity. Without charity, there's no salvation. So thank you, Giancarlo. You hear the music, and you are so welcome. I'm so glad you participated, and I hope to see you again next Sunday. Same time, same channel, Kardec Radio, where we're always nourishing our souls. God bless. Have a good week. Be safe, be healthy, and remember, let's help somebody else. Thank you.